A lot of people are looking at the S20 Plus as like the flagship of the flagship, the best of the best, the phone to buy from the S20 lineup. And in a lot of ways it is the best of the best, but I think that too many people are looking past the S20 Plus, which is one of the best phones also, and it may be the best value phone from the S20 lineup. So in this video, I'm going to be giving it a second look. This is my second impressions, and I'm also going to be taking an initial look at the camera, and some of the samples that I got were actually pretty surprising, so stay tuned for later in the video to see those. But for now, let's jump into my experience so far with the S20 Plus coming off of 2 weeks with the S20 Ultra. The S20 Plus packs a screen that is 0.2 inches smaller than the screen on the Ultra, and that small difference actually creates a huge impact in the way I can use this phone. I can actually use it one-handed for a lot more of what I do than I could on the S20 Ultra. And it also means that the pixel density, like the pixels per inch on this phone, is a little bit higher than it is on the Ultra. So that means that if you want to use a high refresh rate display, which requires you to use 1080p and not 1440p, you're actually going to get a display that is a little bit sharper because it's smaller and it has the same resolution. Now that said, honestly, I didn't really have any complaints about the Ultra display. It's fabulous, but if you want a slightly sharper display in that 1080p mode, the S20 Plus has it. But overall, all the displays across the S20 lineup are best in class. This display is colorful, it's sharp, it's bright, it's beautiful. Like, I have no bad things to say about this display. And when you add 120 hertz as well, which isn't a dynamic 120 hertz, kind of creates this experience where it also feels really smooth on top of already being great. So the display is amazing, and I also really like the placement of the hole punches here at the top. It is less intrusive in content. One thing that is pretty similar though to last year is the fingerprint sensor. I thought that we were gonna see a major improvement in this with like a bigger surface area and quicker response time, and we just didn't. It's not bad. Like, it wasn't bad last year either, but it's not excellent. Like, I still have some times where it doesn't read my finger and I have to enter in my passcode. So hopefully next generation we see a bigger difference. For this generation, it's fine, albeit a little bit disappointing that there wasn't a bigger improvement. The S20 Plus has more color options than the S20 Ultra has, which is really nice. S20 Ultra was kind of lame. It only had a black and a gray. I like fun colors on my phone, so I'm really happy to see that there's other options. My favorite color across the entire lineup is the cloud pink, but I really like the cloud blue color as well. My review unit of the S20 Plus is still black, so it looks pretty elegant, but it's not like a fun color that kind of pops out. So if you care about that, there are more color options. I think a lot of people though throw a skin or a case on their phone, and in that similar fashion, you're not really gonna care about the fingerprints that this phone accumulates, but some people do, so I think it's worth mentioning. This phone still picks up a ton of fingerprints, which makes it a pain to shoot videos of, but in your daily life, probably not a big deal. The internals are what you're gonna care a lot more about, and this phone is packing. So just like the Ultra, it has really, really high-end specs, a ton of RAM with the ability to keep apps on retainer. That's a really cool implementation and it feels practical. And it also has a Snapdragon 865 processor, which is fast, and I just feel like everything flies on this phone. I haven't thrown anything at it yet that it can't handle, which is impressive. If you're really into gaming, then this is gonna be a great phone for that, not only because of the big display with the 240 hertz touch sensitivity and the 120 hertz refresh rate, but also for the fact that the internals are gonna be able to handle highly graphically intensive games. I myself am not a gamer, so I'm seeing it more so in the ability to multitask and have like 2 apps on screen, or keep a lot of different applications open and not have them constantly refresh. An area though where I need to continue testing is battery, so I'm definitely gonna keep you posted on that. Hopefully the battery life on this is similar to what it was on the Ultra, because the Ultra's battery life was pretty great. So I'm hoping to see that the 120 hertz does not negatively impact it. I'll keep you posted. But now we gotta talk about what I think most of you wanna know, the camera. So the S20 Plus packs a different camera setup than the Ultra. Basically, the Ultra has an incredible camera on paper and an incredible camera in real life a lot too. But it hasn't been incredible in every scenario. For example, the focus has been a little bit spotty in video mode, and there's been some other issues as well. And Samsung has promised an update. Now, we haven't gotten the update yet. I'm on the most recent software still, but I'm pretty confident that it's gonna come because they said it would. And hopefully that update changes a lot of the thoughts that I had about the camera. If you wanna hear more about that camera, then you should check out my full review of it. I'll link it in the description. But this camera is different, so it's not plagued by all those same issues. In video mode, for example, I've actually noticed pretty good focus in the limited testing that I've done. And the other thing about the Ultra is that the actual primary sensor has a pretty shallow plane of focus, which means that when you're taking a close-up, a lot of the object is out of focus, kind of like what you would get on a DSLR when you take a picture really close up with a really wide open aperture, only part of it's in focus, whereas the S20 Plus has a much broader plane of focus. So when you take a close-up of something on this and then you take a close-up of something on the Ultra, more of the subject is in focus on the S20 Plus. Sometimes that is a disadvantage. For example, the S20 Ultra has a really nice shallow depth of field for portraits without having to use live focus mode. That's really nice. And in a lot of scenarios, it's really nice to have that shallow depth of field, but in some scenarios, it's actually nicer not to have that. We'll see if software improves that, but that feels like much more of a hardware issue, so I don't feel like it's ever gonna be totally improved. And it's not necessarily an issue, but it just creates less pleasing images sometimes, because sometimes you wanna get most of the subject in focus. So it's really nice that on the S20 Plus, a lot more of the subject is in focus, a lot more of the time. And then other things about the actual photos from the S20 Plus, they're sharp, they're detailed, the exposure is normally pretty good, and the exposure consistency and color consistency between the three lenses is a lot better this year than it has been in the past on Samsung phones. So that's really impressive. The Ultra has more zoom range, so you've probably heard about the 100 times zoom by now. I actually think it's pretty cool. The S20 Plus does not have that, but it does have 30 times zoom, which is really good, and actually passable images at 10 times zoom. So I've actually been really impressed with the zoom range. I think that if you're really into zoom, you're going to prefer the Ultra, but this phone holds up and it outperforms a lot of other phones just from the sheer fact that it can zoom in a lot more. So expect a more thorough test of the camera. That's just my initial impressions. This phone also has super steady and 8K recording, so those are two things that I want to test as well. If you want to see more of a thorough look at the S20 Ultra's camera, I'm going to link below not only a camera comparison video I made, but also the full review where I cover high resolution pictures and low light pictures. So if you're interested in tech content and those videos I just mentioned, you should totally subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you don't miss them. Thank you so much for watching this video. You can click right here to see that Ultra review, and you can subscribe right here, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.